Sir Christopher Chope, Conservative Member of Parliament for Christchurch. Christopher, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Nigel.
Now, your vote last night, and I quite understand, I've listened very carefully to the arguments as to why vaccine passports not only are a very un-British, a very unconservative, one might say, thing to do, but also in health terms could be counterproductive. I get all of that. But your vote last night wasn't just about coronavirus regulations, was it?
Well, my vote was about the coronavirus regulations because that was what we were voting about. But obviously, a large number of people voted against the Conservative government, who we wouldn't normally expect to be voting against the Conservative government. And I think that that is quite a challenge to the authority of the Prime Minister. And to answer your question directly, I think there is a lot of concern about the direction of travel of the government. And that's not just the Prime Minister, but obviously he's the leader of the government. And a lot of us would like to see more distinctly conservative policies, and rather than the sort of conservative Labour Party pact, which in many respects seems to be dominating so many of the policies we've got.
Yes, I mean, it feels to me like the pre-Brexit days of sort of Cameron, and Miliband and Clegg, and everyone's a social democrat, and you can't really put a cigarette paper between the parties on big policy. But if I interpret what you're saying correctly, and you say this is not actually a vote of no confidence at this stage, but a shot across the bows, if he doesn't change, and if he continues with the obsession with net zero and many of the other things that have upset so many of you on the backbenches, how long is it before 54 letters go in and trigger some sort of contest?
Well, I think one of the pieces of good fortune that the Prime Minister has got is that there is no clear alternative to him. And I don't think anybody would be putting in a letter asking for him to resign or to be tested in a vote amongst the parliamentary party, unless they had somebody clearly in mind as they thought would be a better alternative. And Nigel, when I ask around colleagues, they all seem to agree with me that there is no clear, better alternative.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. Although, one can believe or disbelieve what you see in the newspapers, but all sorts of talk of lobbying of all kinds going on. Are you being lobbied, Christopher Chope, by other potential leadership candidates?
Funnily enough, I'm not, actually, no. But that's not a surprise, really.
Or perhaps that's because you're too independently minded. Listen, we take very carefully the words that you've said. We thank you for coming on, Christopher, and joining us